So this video is going to be a little bit different than the rest of my videos. I'm actually going to do an apartment tour of my apartment in New York City so that you guys can see what an apartment in New York City looks like and maybe take a guess at how much you would pay for it. The first thing I'm showing you right here is the view outside of my window, which as you can see is the World Trade Center and the Oculus building, which is that white winged building there in the corner, which is like a big atrium mall type building. And then in front of there is St. Paul's Church, which is a very historic church. I don't know all the specifics about it, but I think it's maybe one of the first churches in New York City and probably in the United States. Behind it there in those trees is a cemetery with a lot of really old graves, and like the gravestones have been all worn away by the rain and you can barely even read the names. It'd probably be a great place for a Halloween, to be scared in Halloween, if it wasn't so, you know, historical and a real actual cemetery. As you can see right here, the building that I live in, it's kind of a U-shaped building. The apartments down below, you can see are all occupied, and it actually doesn't look that great from this angle. But the apartments above me, as you can see, this is an older building and they're in the process of being renovated. That process has been taking a very long time. In fact, I was told it would be done a year after I moved in, and it's been 2 years that I've lived here, and as you can see, they're still not done. At the very top of this building, you can see there's kind of like a cupola, or I don't know if that's the right word, but there's actually 4 of them, and you can't see it very well from this angle, but one of the original plans that the building owners had was to make those into penthouses, which would actually be incredible if you could imagine living on top of an old historic building and having a view of the World Trade Center like I do. I mean, that, if they ever got it completed, would truly be an incredible place to live. The building that I live in, it was actually built in 1899, and originally it was a office building for many years, and it was one of the tallest buildings in New York at one point. I think there's 28 floors. I'm on the 26th floor, and as you can see in that view, the top 2 floors above me are unoccupied. But here's my actual apartment, and it's very bare right now because I'm in the process of moving out, and that's also why I thought it would be a great opportunity to give you guys a look at it. It was newly renovated when I moved in, so even though it's an older building, the actual apartment itself and all the fixtures inside it are brand new, and I was the first one to live in the newly renovated unit. One of the nice things about this apartment is this great island that it had. I love a kitchen island, who doesn't? And another great thing about it is that in addition to those front windows that I was just showing you the view out of World Trade Center, there's also this little side window here, which is just nice. It doesn't really have a view except of like some office buildings, but it's just nice to get light in, I think, from different angles, and I think that's pretty unusual to have this much sunlight sometimes in a building in New York City, especially in an older building like this. One additional thing that I wanted to point out about my apartment, and it's this pot on this stove. I have a friend who I have literally known for about 30 years. We met when we were in junior high school, and he's been in pretty much every apartment I've ever had since I've lived on my own. And he has told me that every apartment I have a pot like that sitting on the stove like that. And you know what? It's probably true because I've always been a big soup person. Soup is underrated. I love soup for any meal, breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And I do think I've probably had this one pot for an extraordinary amount of time. You can see that it's very worn through. But today I'm getting rid of the pot because I'm moving out and I'm just simplifying my whole life. And I think the pot has seen its day. It's given me a lot of use. I am grateful for the pot. I'm grateful for all the soup it has served me. And when my friend comes to visit me next time, he's gonna have to see a new pot. Because this was an office building, it's kind of awkwardly designed. So if you can see right to the left of me is this long hallway that leads to the actual entrance. And that's just because when they were redeveloping this building, they kind of had to fit in apartments where they could. So the square footage of this building is actually pretty big, but there's a lot of like wasted space in this hallway, and it's all right. I don't mind it, but it just would have been nice to have some of that square footage of the actual apartment. I think the square footage of this apartment is about 700, and so that's including this kitchen area, this living room area, and then over here is the actual bedroom. As you can see, it looks pretty sparse right now because I'm in the process of moving out. And again, these windows just pretty much show into the courtyard of my unit. I have to admit, sometimes I can see right into that unit right there because sometimes those people that live there keep those shades up most of the time. And I never really look or stare, but sometimes it's just kind of weird to have people so close to you and you can see like right and see exactly what they're watching on TV, but yeah, I definitely respect their privacy. So there's some nice closets there. Another thing I like about this apartment is that the doors, if you look at the doors on the closets, they're like solid. They're not like that. A lot of apartments kind of have like plywood type closets, and honestly, I hate those. The other thing that I like about this apartment is the floor. It's like some type of, I don't know, it's probably like a fake hardwood, but I just like the look of it. So I really like that. And then right here, I'm gonna give you a quick bathroom tour. I'm gonna give you a quick bathroom tour right here. I mean, it's a small bathroom, just a shower, a bath, and counter, and toilet. And then there's this side closet, coat closet right here that I have some stuff in still, and that's basically it. As you could tell, it's just about a block away from the World Trade Center. It is right in front of a park that's right in front of City Hall. So it's just nice to have that open space to be so accessible. Kind of, it's obviously not like a Central Park type park, but in a way it's a nice just place to go and sit and read. So that's something that I've really enjoyed about this apartment. It's located on the corner of Broadway and Park Row in the financial district of New York. And I have no problem telling you that because, as you can see, I'm moving out, so you can't come stalk me or anything like that because I won't be here. Here's a photo I found of my building hanging in a nearby restaurant that was taken sometime in the early 1900s. I especially like looking at this picture and looking at those guys in the lower half there and just wondering, what their life must have been like. I went just last week and tried to recreate that photo, taking a picture from a similar angle and vantage point. The two pictures look almost unrecognizable between each other. There are so many buildings that have been built and disappeared, but you still can see my original building there in both photos. It's the one that has the two towers with the steel braces across it, and then you can definitely see St. Paul's Church there and the steeple to that church. you know, I love looking at old photos like this and comparing them to present day photos. A lot of times you'll see coffee table books where a photographer has done this type of concept. And I think it's especially poignant in this setting because this area is just maybe 100 to 200 feet from where the World Trade Center buildings used to be, the towers, and where the World Trade Center Memorial is today. So you have to just think about and wonder about all the history that my building has witnessed, and just the fact that it was able to survive on 9/11, even though it was built so many years ago. And, you know, I also just kind of think about, well, you know, this building has seen so much history in the past in such a vibrant part of New York City. You just have to wonder, well, what is it going to see, or what is this area going to be like in the next 100 years? You know, maybe somebody could take a third photo, and each of the three photos of this same spot on Earth are going to look completely different. But my question for you is how much do you think this apartment costs? You can, or I guess maybe a better question is how much would you be willing to pay for it? You know, those are, it's a different side of the coin, but the similar question. The amount that I paid for this apartment per month was $3,795. So almost $4,000 a month, which I have to totally acknowledge is a whole heck of a lot. You know, I kind of knew that I was only going to be in New York for a short amount of time, like maybe 5 years or so, which has been the case. And I knew that, you know, to get that real New York experience, I wanted to live in Manhattan. And I just kind of told myself, you know what, the rents are high in Manhattan, there's nothing you can do about it, you want this experience just for a year or two, just suck it up and pay the high rent, which is exactly what I did. I had a great time living in New York and Manhattan, but I think if I were to live in New York again, I may live in Queens or Brooklyn, because those are places that I've actually discovered more about since I've moved to New York City, and those are actually incredible places. I don't want to say I'm over it, but I can move on. You know, I've done that. I know what that's like. And to some extent, it was really exciting the first, you know, for the first while, but I'd say the last couple of months, especially since just in my head, I knew I was going to be leaving it. You know, I can't say that my experience was so different living in Manhattan than it would have if I had been living in Queens or Brooklyn, because I was kind of, you know, maybe a little bit more of a homebody during the last couple months that I've lived here, because it was the winter months, and I was just kind of, you know, had experienced a lot in Manhattan already and didn't need to necessarily be going out as much as I had been before. So yeah, once you experience all of Manhattan that you want to experience, I definitely think Queens and Brooklyn and even the Bronx, or even if Staten Island, if that's your thing, would be great places for somebody to live in New York City and pay a lower price rent. One other thing that I wanted to say is that I had a pretty good job and I had a pretty good income coming in. So I don't think this is everybody's experience in New York. I think a lot of people in New York have to have roommates, or live in studio, or live in smaller apartments than this is. And I think I was very lucky and fortunate that, you know, that I was able to live in a nice location in a pretty good, in an okay size apartment, not huge, but decent for one person. And, you know, and that I was just able to not have roommates, you know, and all of that. That was definitely a nice thing. That is my apartment tour, and that's how much it cost me. And let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.